G'day folks, how you going? It's Brad here from the Headshot Guys, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the business side of being a photographer. Now, obviously for most people, they're still trying to get their head around the technical side, which is what camera do I use and what settings do I have and what sort of lights do I buy and all those types of things, which is all very well and good. But if you are very keen about being a photographer and potentially being a commercial photographer or a full-time professional photographer, then you need to give a fair bit of consideration to the business side of your photography business, I guess. So there's a couple of staples that you have to kind of get in place before you even move forward. So you could hunker all the way back to your niche. Are you going to niche yourself? Are you going to be a more generalist? That is going to, I think, depend very much on your area, where you live or where you might be trading. If you don't have a massive population surrounding you, well, then you might prefer or need to be more of a generalist. And when I say generalist, that would probably mean someone that does headshots, someone that does family portraits, someone that does kids, someone that does pets, someone that does weddings, someone that could do products. So that would be what I would consider a generalist, where they do a bit of everything. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. And that will depend very much on your area, and particularly if you're wanting to make a full-time business out of photography, well, then you will have to consider that. So the other things that you will need to consider is your market. Obviously, if you're a generalist, then you're going to have to spread yourself pretty wide because you want to cover the people that are going to be looking to book a pet photographer and a child photographer and a baby photographer and a wedding photographer. So you're going to have to cover pretty much the whole market, really, to be a generalist. I think that was easier probably 15 years ago with the onset of social media, where you could cover a fair bit of ground with your social media accounts. I think it's a little bit more difficult these days, but I could always be proven wrong, because I'm not a generalist anymore. I'm more of a niche, I guess. I'm a headshot portrait photographer, so I tend to work primarily from my studio. So that means that my market, my demographic is a little bit narrower, and is not as wide as somebody that would be marketing themselves for a generalist sort of a situation. So what are the things that you need in place if you're going to be a professional photographer? And basically, you can dispute the meaning of a professional photographer. There's you could be a part-time professional photographer, or you could be a full-time professional photographer. I'm lucky enough to be a full-time professional photographer, in that I earn the majority of my money from shooting headshots and portraits. So the things that I believe that I need to have in place and maintain on a regular basis is first and foremost my website. I think that's a huge part of what you do. People need to be able to go to your website and look at your work. I know that there are probably a significant amount of people that would disagree with me and say, well, I have a Facebook page, I don't need a website. And that could be very well and good, and that might be your way of marketing yourself, and that's fabulous. You might have an Instagram account, that might be all you have, and you earn your money from your Instagram, and that's fabulous. But I still believe you need a website to significantly legitimize yourself. There will be a fair portion of the market that will go, if you don't have a significant website, or certainly a .com or a .com.au, certainly in my case, because I'm in Australia, with your name attached to that website, then they might not feel that you're as legitimate as somebody that does have a .com or a .com.au attached to their name or to their website. Food for thought. There's plenty of people out there that probably don't have a website but are considered full-time professional photographers. Fabulous. And if you can pull that off, fabulous. Good for you. I haven't been able to do it. I've always had a website. I've felt that it means that people have a place to go that's just mine. It's like walking into your shop, as opposed to, for example, having your items in a Woolworths or a Coles or a Kmart or something along those lines and selling your product. You might not necessarily need your own shop, but I think in this day and age, I certainly believe that you need to have a website of some description, a place where you can show just your work, and you can talk about yourself. You can give people an easy way for them to contact you, and it gives you a point of easy comparability in relation to they can look at other people's websites and come back to yours and go, oh, okay, this guy's the best. So that's something that can be disputed, but you certainly need to have a website. Now, social media, I believe that you need to have some semblance of social media. Again, there will be those out there that don't have any social media and coping quite well as a professional photographer, and if you can do that, fabulous. I don't think social media is as easy as it once was. I think the social mediums, and certainly the bigger ones, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the TikToks of the world, are making it more and more difficult to gather any type of audience without having to pay for it. So again, that's something that can be disputed. There's probably plenty of people out there that just do that all the time, and that's what happens, and they get an audience without having to pay for it. That's fabulous. I buy ads on Facebook. I used to do Google ads. I don't find them as relevant anymore because I don't think people click on the ads as much as they used to. That's certainly my learnings over the last few years. Again, that can be disputed. Might be some Google people ring me up and abuse me, but that's okay. That's fine. But I still do advertise on Facebook and Instagram. So what else do you need? You need a website. You need some social media presence. I think you need a plan. You need a plan moving forward. You need a budget. You need to work out, okay, exactly how much do you spend on advertising, on marketing, whether you do networking. I think networking is a fabulous idea. If you can get into a networking group, that's even better. I believe that a lot of people think that networking doesn't work. I'm here to tell you that it does. I've been networking for a long time. I still get leads and work from people that I met 5, 6, 7 years ago through networking events. One of the things to understand about networking events are they are not often instantaneous. If you go to a networking event and you meet 25 people at an event that has 300 people, for example, because even if it goes for 3 hours, you're probably only going to meet a certain amount of people in that time for your networking to be effective. You're not going to get 25 jobs the next day. It just doesn't work like that. So what you need to do is establish a relationship. You need to keep going back to that networking event. You can meet different people, you can meet other people, you can meet the same people again. But what happens when you do that is that eventually they will meet the person that you've met at the networking event will either A, require your services themselves, or they will meet somebody else that will require your services and they can refer you or introduce you or something along those lines. That's what networking is all about. So it might be a long-term thing. So what else can we talk about in relation to marketing? You've got to convince those around you that you are legitimate, I guess, and you do that from website, networking, social media presence. And that is about having a niche and being able to have a plan. So I think there's a few things for you to think about to begin with. It can be a little bit daunting when you're first starting out in business to go, oh, okay, I want to be a professional. I find with most people, it's not something that happens overnight. It might be something that they sneak up on. Certainly in my situation, I gradually turned into a professional photographer. I started out doing bits and pieces of jobs until it got to the point where I just stepped off the edge of the cliff and ditched my full-time job and just went, okay, I'm going full-time professional. That happened some 17 years ago now. So I've been doing it for a while. I managed to skirt my way through COVID, which was a tough gig. The economy's pretty ordinary at the moment in Australia. I believe that it's getting better. That's something that you might have to consider, particularly when you're considering your niche. You might have to think, okay, what sort of disposable income do people have? Is your niche a situation, or is it an area where people will spend money in that area regardless of the economic situation? Certainly weddings are in that little area. So if you wanted to start in the not too distant future, right now in Australia, I believe that weddings would be a good area to kick yourself off in. You can do weddings at the bottom end. I believe that there are probably plenty of people out there that would be looking for budget type weddings, particularly right now. So particularly younger people that don't have the budget to spend on a big lavish wedding where they're going to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a wedding photographer. You might be able to put your hand up and say, I'll do it for $500 or $1,000 or whatever it might be. Understanding that there's a fair bit of work in a wedding and there is a fair bit of pressure. So just be careful. If you stuff up a wedding, you don't get a second chance. If you do a family portrait and you mess it up, well, then you can always ring them back and say, really, I've messed this up. Can we do it again? And work out probably the professional logistics of that, whether you give them the money back or whether you shoot it again for nothing or whatever your situation might be. But a wedding is that day, and if you stuff it up, well, then there's no second chances. So that's something to be thinking about. Family portrait photography is a good area to get into. I'm not into pets, so I don't shoot pet photography. So that might be an area to get into. People tend to spend money on their pets, their dogs, their cats, all that kind of stuff. Weddings are certainly another area that tends to be a little bit economy resistant, I guess, for use of a better word. People will spend money on a wedding even if they don't have the budget. So be aware of all that. So my name's Brad from the Headshot Guys. If you go to my website, you can click on the link. I'm offering coaching at the moment. So coaching that you can purchase that by the hour, you can purchase it by the plan, and we can discuss your business. I do have a master's degree in business from Surrey University in Oxford, which I completed some time ago, but I can talk about marketing and business ad nauseum. So if you want to ask me some questions just for an hour, that's fine. If you wanted to have a more extensive plan over a few hours, over a more consistent meeting time, it's going to be online. It's via Zoom or Google Meetup. So I'm more than happy to take inquiries. We can chat about photography, about lighting, about clients, about anything photography or business related. I'm more than happy to chat. So I'm Brad from the Headshot Guys. I look forward to seeing from you, and thanks for watching my video. Cheers now. Bye.